this is not going to be a how-to video. And the simple reason for that is I don't know what I'm doing. I have experience in lots of things. I've worked in farming, I've worked as a nurse's aide or an orderly, if you wish. I have experience in most of the construction trades, electrical, plumbing, finish carpentry, rough carpentry, framing carpentry, roofing. I've had some experience in all those things. I got a bachelor's degree in mass media with a minor in music. I got a master's degree in education, and I actually taught in elementary school for a few years. So I have a wide range of experience. I've also worked in manufacturing. But one of the manufacturing fields I didn't work in was furniture making, nor have I done any upholstery work. At least not to have any kind of experience in it and know how it's supposed to be done. And that's what I'm going to try to do now. I'm going to try to build an Ottoman or a footstool. The reason for that is we have one. It's 16 or I think 14 by 20 inches. And my wife has lymphedema. Her legs are swelling up. It's hard for her to get her feet close enough together to put them both on that 20-inch wide Ottoman. So I'm going to make her one that's 30 inches wide, and because of the parts we could find, it's going to be about 18 inches wide instead of 14. So let's go ahead and show you the parts. We had to buy a few parts. With the other stuff, I'm going to use stuff that I've had on hand. So for the wood, I've got some 1x lumber here. This is, I think, I don't think it's 1x8 because that's 8 inch, so I think this is probably 1x6. I don't remember right now what I got this for, but I had these two pieces left over. They're both over 18 inches, so that'll make that work. Then I've got this. I bought this at the lumber yard a little earlier this year because my wife needed an additional step up into the shower. And this was a little less than half what she needed to go up, but it was enough to make it easier for her to get on the shower, so she could step on this then in the shower. So I bought a full 8-foot piece, and I didn't need very much. I was going to have the lumberyard cut it in half to make it easier to haul home, but just before they did it, I said, let's see if we can fit it in the car in one piece and have it stick out the window. We did that. It fit. It worked. I got it home okay. So I've got this piece, and this is more than 60 inches. So if I subtract 1.5 inches for those pieces, because I'm going to have to put those on the outside, I can make it 30 inches by making this 28.5 inches. Two pieces, 28.5 inches from this, and then I'll be able to get some corner braces out of this. And then we're going to use some screws to hold everything together. I'll probably get some glue out for that too. I've got these screws here. I'm not sure. These use a torque spit drive. Well, they've got one in there for it, so I'll probably use that for the main thing. And then I've got some other screws in the bag here. Where's my bag? Yeah, right here. I'm supposed to have some screws left over from my decking project back in 2018. I don't think these are that. They're something else, but those will work for some things. Now, the things that we bought include these upholstery springs. Zigzag upholstery springs. You can find them on Amazon. That's where we got these. You can see what they look like, and I'll have to stretch them out. They're 18 inch, so probably about like that, and then that'll provide the support for them, and I'll have to find screws to hold those into the wood. Like I say, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just kind of making do as we go along. We bought a roll of upholstery foam. This is 1-inch thick foam. We've got enough of it in here that if it looks like I think we need it, we can put 2 thicknesses and get 2 inches of upholstery foam on it. I'm going to need a driver. Now, the bag I have here says Black & Decker on it, and there is a Black & Decker battery-powered drill in the house charging up right now. But I have found that a lot of times when I really need power, I can use this corded thing. This is Craftsman, and that'll drive screws that I wouldn't be able to drive otherwise. I'll need this. When I was learning construction trades, they called this a tri-square, and I'm not sure if that's T-R-Y or T-R-I. I'm guessing the latter because it has that 45-degree angle, so it forms sort of a triangle there, and it allows you to do square and 45-degree mark, square and 45-degree cuts with it. So I will need that both for the wood so I can cut it square and also for my corner braces. I'm going to need a saw. I got this Makita handsaw at the same place I got that Black & Decker battery-powered drill, and this was purchased for that decking project that I was talking about, and I've used it off and on since then. I even put a in fact, I think that's what's in it right now. I put a metal blade in there, and I cut some metal panels from my former manufacturing job to form some crawl space covers for under the house. So we're going to have to get to work for that. One of the things we're going to need is some sawhorses, and I don't do regular sawhorses. I use these kitty litter boxes, and they may have some saw marks in them. That one has saw marks and paint on it. That's from, well, the paint is from a handrail for the front porch. When we got new insurance for a house, the insurer came out and said I needed a handrail on the front porch. So I had some 3/4 or 1 inch black iron pipe left over from putting up a handrail at my folks' place several years ago. So I got that out, marked it, cut it, and took it to a nearby shop to get it welded together, painted it, and screwed it down on the one of the columns for the porch, and then put the other end down in sackcrete in the ground. It's a very solid handrail. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. Anyway, that's where the paint came from. So let's get started and see what we're going to do here. So I've got my first cut marked here, and I got my saw out, and I've got an extension cord in place, and I've got the saw here. So here goes. That's the first cut made. Measure another 28.5 inches right to there. Use my square, line that cut, and make a nice straight square mark. So I just ran across a problem I've run into before, and that is that I get what's on and what's off on the video backwards, and end up filming the interludes and not filming the part I'm intending to film. So I've just looked at what I've got. I've got some pictures of me measuring and cutting. There'll be no narration there, but we'll put that in. A problem that I ran into that I thought I was videoing was I marked for a couple of corner braces out of the remainder of the 2x lumber that I had. And I marked them, and I made the first 2 cuts. So I got my first brace piece out. But the last piece of lumber was so small that I started to cut it with the power saw, and I decided that wasn't safe. So I quit cutting. I took it to a vise, and I got out a handsaw right here, and I used that to make the last cut, so I wouldn't end up cutting myself with a power saw. That wouldn't be any fun. So, and then the other thing that I missed was going through and drilling holes in the 1x lumber so I could have the screws already started. I thought I was filming, starting the screws. So I've got the screws started, and I've got them on both ends of the 1x lumber. It's going to be the sides of this Ottoman. And I've got them stacked up, one there and one over here. So those are all set to go. And I brought out a bottle of wood glue and screws. Somebody taught me that years ago when I was still a teenager. And I think that's probably relatively good advice. Screws are going to hold better than nails, and glue will help hold them together. This is indoor glue, but it's for the Ottoman. It's going to be used indoors, so that's going to be just fine. So, now the fun part. I'm going to pause the video while I figure out how I'm going to do it, because now I got to figure out how to put the glue on and get the wood together and put the screws in with wet glue. Got to figure that out. Give me time. Okay, so I fiddle around, and this is what I've come up with. Now, I've already stated the 1x lumber is not the same width as the 2x lumber. So there's going to be a gap near the bottom on the side. I can live with that. It's probably not what a professional would do, but like I say, I don't know what I'm doing. So now all I got to do is, and this might be the hard part, get the glue open. Yeah. Okay, maybe that's not so hard. Now, one thing I noticed is that these screws are not Phillips. They're Torx. When I looked at the bit before I put it in the driver, they're T20. So. A little bit of excess glue. We can wipe that up here. That way it won't make a mess on the finished product. I've probably got a little excess glue over here. Yeah, a little bit, not a lot. Get that wiped up, otherwise the dry glue puts shape in it. Won't matter. So I've got one corner brace in already, gets down there. The other one I'm going to put up here. This is slightly larger, so it'll be a little bit less of a problem. The only trick is doing it this way. I do a lot of chuck swapping because I drill 2 holes and then I put in 2 screws, so I have to swap out between each pair. Okay, yeah, that's properly in the chuck. I don't want it off center, that'd make a mess. And let me pull that bit a little bit farther out so I can get at least a little bit into the brace block. And we're going to line it up with the bottom of the 1x here. Didn't really make much of a mark in there. Okay. Whoop, that kind of dribbled on me there. Had quite a bit of glue on it, so that's not a big surprise, I don't suppose. Hold it in place there. Put this screw in. And then put this screw in. Ah, come on, there we go. have what I hope is a pretty sturdy frame for our Ottoman. And okay, it's the next day. He's had overnight for the glue to harden, and it feels real good and solid, so I'm happy with that much so far. Now it's time to put the springs on, and that's going to be fun because it takes quite a bit of force to get these spread out where they're going to go. And I think what I'm going to do, I've already marked this out. So I thought about it and I decided that we would line it up, we would divide it up exactly with 6 marks through it. So since it's 30 inches, you divide that by 6, you get 5. So we're going to put 2.5 inches on either end, half of that. And that's going to have the spring fitting right about there. I'm marking that for the... Okay, so I had to go in a house where I keep the toolbox and get a pair of pliers and open them up there a little bit to make it a little easier to work. Going to be a little tricky here, looks like. Now, I could put 2 screws in for each of these, and I may yet do that, but I'm going to start with just the one. Get a screw out and ready. I'm going to have to hold that with my knee to hold it in place. There. Okay. Now, since I've got lots of screws, and this will be a whole lot easier, I think I'll go ahead and double screw all these clips. So that's essentially 12 more screws. And if this battery drill gives up the ghost, then we've got the corded drill back there we can use to finish the job. Now they're really snug, and we're done with with this outdoor part of this project. Now comes the fun part. I have some experience with a sewing machine, but I'm by no means an expert, and this is going to be interesting to see how it works out. Okay. It's been about 24 hours since last I filmed anything on this. I brought it in, showed it to my wife, and looked around at a few things. And today I made a decision about a major change I'm going to have to make to this. Now it's already screwed and glued, so I can't take it apart. But the upholstery is going to be really difficult with these legs being longer than these sides, or these sides, the 2x sides being wider than the 1x sides. So I've decided I want to rip these off so that the height is equal all the way around. Now, I was trying to figure out how I was going to make the mark for those cuts, because they obviously I want to be as straight as I can make them. So I'm going to need a line to follow as I cut. And I don't have a straight edge that long. But then I remembered, I talked to you about this little thing, and I called it a tri-square. Actually, the usual name for it these days is combination square. Now, combination squares are supposed to have a little feature that this one doesn't quite seem to have. This is a real cheap plastic one. And that is, there's supposed to be an indentation in the end of the ruler here, which will allow you to fit a marking device in there and then make a straight line. I'm going to try to do that anyway. I've already preset this. So let's just see if I'm able to do this. It would be a lot easier with that indentation in there, but well, that's not a perfect line, but I think it's a line I can follow. Oh, Mia. This is our cat. One of our cats. She likes to get in the way. That's what cats are good for. I had mentioned earlier in this project that I wanted some cloth to cover the springs before I put the foam over the springs. And I had in mind the kind of cloth that I thought ought to work. But I didn't have any, so I figured I'd just look through my wife's cloth remnants and find something that seemed suitable and use that. Then I opened the package of the upholstery foam that we bought for this project, and lo and behold, it was wrapped in this fabric. And this fabric seemed to be exactly what I was looking for. Now it's going to be a little bit long here. I'll have to cut it. I've got scissors here for that. I also have something, I don't even remember what I got it for, but many, many years ago I got a staple gun. And I tried to use it on a project, an upholstery project that my wife set me on shortly after we got married. And I found out that it is not strong enough to put staples into the hardwood that's normally used in building furniture. So I kind of had to make do. I could get it started and then finish them off with a hammer or something like that. And I know some of you may have already said something about he's using softwood to build furniture. He's supposed to use hardwood for that. Yeah, I'm aware. But softwood's what I had, and I think for what we're doing, it'll hold up well enough. So I'm going to try to bring this over the edge here and staple it down, if there's any staples left in this gun. I haven't even looked for that, but let's see what happens here. Yeah. I'll have to finish that off with a hammer. Such is life. Well, I'd hoped it would go a little differently. Kind of, yeah. Well, the rest of the upholstery covering will help to hold that in place. Now we need to make the cover. So I went up in the attic. That's why I may look a little more wilted than I did earlier today. And I found this double knit fabric. Looks like this on one side, like this on the other. She says this is the side she wants out, so that's what we'll do. And this okay, got started and sewed on one end. Other end just fell down on the floor there. And that's how it came out. I had calculated it was a little bit long, but I didn't get it centered as well as I had hoped. So I'll have to make sure to start on this end down here, so the overlap will be about the same. And this one's going to be different because now I'm going to have the end piece on the top. Okay. Well, this is going to take some thinking now. Well, it more or less fits. I may decide not to offset the foam quite so much and just rely on the side padding. Got to figure out how I'm going to put the side padding on. Like I say, take some thinking. Don't know if you can see me or not. This is yet the next day. This is the 4th day I've been working on this project. I said something about using this quilt batting, so it's time to get it out of the package. This is an unopened package, by the way. And work on figuring how many thicknesses I want and getting it cut for use. If this were going to be visible, I'd make sure I was using dressmaker's chalk. I think my wife has some, but I couldn't find it last night, so I'm just going to mark at 1 foot every so often and use that as my cutting guide. And that's what I did that I didn't want to do, but that might be inside my 96 inches, I'm kind of hoping. Let's see, where's that tape? So now we go through and fold it in half and then figure out how we're going to attach it to the cover that we have already sewn. I had considered attaching my side cushioning to the cover fabric by sewing it. But after I got it cut out, I got lazy. So I grabbed a staple gun and it ran out of staples. I don't have a package of staples. What happened was I put the package of staples in the bottom of a toolbox. The package got wet. Eventually the package deteriorated. the staples sat there and got wet, and the glue that held the staples together deteriorated, so I had lots of doubles and triples and gobs and gobs and gobs of singles. So I painstakingly loaded this with triples, doubles, and singles, and I was able to get in enough staples around to hold that on. The next thing I decided was that we're using the wrong kind of fabric for this. This is double knit. It's flexible. It stretches. That's kind of one of the features of it, actually. So you can put on something that's kind of tight and it stretches. And back in the 70s when double knit was a big thing, that was considered kind of cool, I guess. But it doesn't work well with upholstery. So since I was planning to use these upholstery tacks to attach this material to the wooden framework here, I thought I ought to get something to brace it up a little bit better. So I tried something that I thought I'd seen, but I had the wrong kind of material. What I have seen has been a piece of very thick, heavy paper, maybe about a 16th to an eighth of an inch thick. You fold the fabric over that, you cut a strip of it, you fold the fabric over it, and you use that to attach it down so that the fabric doesn't sag between the attachment points. That holds it in place. I don't have any of that kind of very heavy paper, but I do have corrugated, so I got out some corrugated and I have folded the carpet over that, or not the carpet, the fabric over that, and then I'm using these copper upholstery, they're not actually copper, but they're red copper colored upholstery tacks, to drive through 2 layers of fabric and that cardboard to hold it down. I think we'll now, like I said, this wasn't going to be a how-to video. It might be more appropriate to show up on an episode of Red Green, but there you go. That's more or less finished. Yeah. There you have it. A mess, but it's my mess. Have fun.